So I went through something similar to this back in, I'm about to age myself, 2014. Shout out to our therapist, okay? Long story short, no, this does not mean he is the one, at least from my perspective. Dating, okay? There were a lot of questions about dating. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melody and I make faith-based content here on YouTube, and welcome to my first advice Q&A. So in today's video, I'm going to be answering all of the advice questions that you guys asked me over on Instagram. I always collect questions for these types of videos on Instagram, so be sure that you are following me there if you want to get in on the next one. And when I say all of them, I actually will not be able to tackle all of the questions because you guys asked a bunch and they are so good. So if you want me to do a second part 2 video to this, definitely let me know by giving this video a thumbs up. But in today's video, I'm going to try to tackle as many advice questions as I can. Now, my heart behind doing this video is really just to offer some mentorship as kind of like a big sister. I wanted to feel like we both are sitting here in my living room and I'm just chatting with you, sharing my experiences as a almost 31-year-old. So it's not like I'm old, but I'm getting there, you know what I mean? And I have quite a bit of experience since coming into relationship with God back in 2015, and just life experience as well as my relationship with God and that walk with him experience as well. So that is what I'm going to be speaking from today. And again, just to offer some mentorship, because mentorship has just been so impactful to me on my journey and the transformation that I experienced in my life since coming to know Christ. And the other things that have been really impactful for me on my journey and my walk with the Lord has just been tools in my toolbox to be growing in my relationship with him, as well as community. And I've been talking so much about these 3 pillars because they are the 3 pillars in the membership club that I'm launching at the end of this month, the Created for This membership. So if you guys want to get more information about the membership, I will have a link down below. Again, it is launching at the end of this month and I could not be more excited. So be sure to check that out. And without further ado, let's hop into the video. The first question is, never really thought of marriage and kids until my now relationship. Doesn't mean he is the one. So long story short, no, this does not mean he is the one, at least from my perspective. So I went through something similar to this back in, I'm about to age myself, 2014. Yeah, before I moved to Korea, I was dating someone, and while I was dating someone, it was the first time in a relationship that I ever understood why people got married. Now, I do come from a divorced household, so this concept of marriage was just like a little bit more difficult for me, but the emotions that I experienced in that relationship, something clicked, and I was like, wow, I get why people get married. Now, was that the person for me? No. And I say this because I dated them then, and then I dated them 3 years later. So it's not like I didn't give it a shot, but it just wasn't the person for me. And I knew it wasn't God's best for me. And I don't think I was God's best for them either. So it's not like it was one-sided, basically is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I don't think you should think, this is weird. I don't think you should think that someone is the one just because you're thinking about marriage and kids with them. I think it could be a sign, and definitely ask God for discernment. But from my experience, just because that's happening, that does not equate to them being the one. And again, this is just my advice. So that is the first one. So the next question is how to be confident in who you are as a person. Honestly, this question is very timely. This is something that I've been thinking about. It's something that I just had a conversation about with one of my friends. I struggle with confidence, and I feel like it goes through seasons. And right now, coming into motherhood, kind of getting out of hermit mode, I've just been experiencing a lot of anxiety when it comes to being around people and feeling very unsure of myself around them. And I think one of the best ways to embrace confidence and to really embrace who God made you to be is to go into conversations and situations expecting for people to like you. And I don't know why when my friend said that, it just seemed like this crazy concept. Like, what? I can go into something expecting something good. And I think that really can help you and give you confidence instead of going into a situation thinking about how bad it could go, or that people might not like you, or whatever the negative thoughts may be. Go into it expecting the best, expecting for people to like you. And I think that is something that can be a great first step. I also think doing different devotionals and really just learning about godly confidence, having confidence in who God is instead of having confidence in your skills and your talents and your abilities, that also is a great place to start. And that's something that I currently am walking through. So if this is something you guys would love to hear more about, let me know. I can definitely do like a truth is episode about it. But confidence is hard, and I feel like it's a journey. It likely won't be something that you just arrive to, but something that you have to continuously work at throughout your life. So hopefully that helps. All right, so the next question is, any advice for navigating your early 20s would be much appreciated. All right, so I feel like your 20s are such a beautiful time, especially your early 20s, because you're becoming an adult. You can step into this new level of freedom. For me, I think my biggest advice that I would give to you is stick close to God. The first 3 years of my 20s, I didn't really have a relationship with God. And then the last 7 years of my 20s, I did. And I feel like that time with God was just so much more meaningful, impactful, and transformative. So really sticking with God and inviting him into every area and facet of your life, that would be the biggest piece of advice I would give you. And it's not to say that when you do that, everything's gonna be up and you won't experience anything negative, but there's just a certain amount of peace that comes from knowing you are doing life with God versus not really inviting God into every facet of your life. So that would be the first thing. I think the next thing would be community. Surround yourself as much as you can with like-minded community, people that want to grow in their relationship with God, people that are on that same path as you. And the last piece of advice I would give you is find contentment. I know a lot of times in my 20s, I wanted to fast forward to that next season of life. And now that I'm in that next season of life, I look back on those times so fondly. And I'm just like, man, I didn't know how beautiful those times were until you look back. So just enjoy whatever season God has you in, and don't try to fast forward to the next one because it will come. So just enjoy what it is for right now. So the next question is, what are good boundaries in dating to have with friends of the opposite sex? So I think honestly, this is a very good question and something that I feel like you and your partner should definitely make sure you are on the same page about, because it's very easy for people to have different ideas of what boundaries with friends of the opposite sex looks like. But when you are, you know, in a courtship or in a very serious relationship or in a marriage, it's really important that you guys are on the same page and are like a united entity. You know what I mean? So personally, I think that it's really important to establish clear timelines of like when it's appropriate to be responding to people of the opposite sex's communication and when it's not. So something that my husband and I talked about when we were dating was just cutoff points. But it was important for us to establish like, okay, after a certain time, this person should not be messaging you. And if they are, you just don't respond until the next day, to just establish clear boundaries, you know? So I think that's important, just setting that expectation of like, we will talk during these, you know, business hours or whatever that may be. And honestly, just being communicative and open with them in regards to what you feel comfortable with and what you don't feel comfortable with, because I think that will vary from person to person and relationship to relationship as well. So the next questions, I say questions because there are so many about dating. You guys have to let me know if you want me to do a separate video on dating. If you do, give this video a thumbs up. Well, no, don't give it a thumbs up. Well, I mean, yes, give it a thumbs up, but let me know in the comments below. Then I'll know for sure about the dating. But yes, okay, let me focus. So dating, okay? There are a lot of questions about dating. One of them is advice on how to date as a Christian. I hate dating apps. Girl, I feel you. Next, being content in your singleness. Dating. What was your balance between doing dating and waiting on God to do his thing? How to put yourself out there to date? How to know if it's even God's plan for you to get married? So there are just a lot of great questions about dating. So let me try to tackle this as a whole. So advice that I would give to someone who's asking about dating as a Christian, I would say, let the Lord lead. And I know that's hard because sometimes we want to be like, but God, I got you. Like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Or actually, Lord, I'm gonna do this and can you just get behind what I'm trying to do over here? And I think for me, the biggest heartaches that I've experienced was just trying to do stuff on my own. And if I were to have just truly surrendered this area of my life to God sooner, I probably would have saved myself a lot of heartache, saved myself a lot of experiences that were less than fun to go through. But ultimately, you know, God uses everything and everything works together for the good of those that love the Lord. Amen. But I don't think I necessarily had to go through that had I just been a little bit more willing to surrender sooner. So my biggest piece of advice for dating: 1, you don't have to get on the dating apps unless the Lord tells you to get on the dating apps. Your husband will find you. He literally could send your husband to knock on your front door right now if he wanted to. I mean, he might not, but he could if he wanted to, because God can truly do anything. So don't feel like you have to help God. Granted, it's not that you can just sit back, relax, not better yourself, not prepare yourself for that next season of life that you want to enter. But don't think that God needs you to do anything outside of what he's calling you to do to help you get to that point. So that would be my biggest piece of advice. And the next piece of advice that I would give is, when you do start dating, just establish really clear boundaries with that person regarding expectations and boundaries. I think it could be very, very easy to get on different pages with somebody. So just having really clear conversations with them regarding, like, okay, what are we doing here? What are your intentions? These are my intentions. This is what I want. What do you want? Okay, what boundaries do we want to establish here? This is what I'm trying to do. I want to do this. Do you want to do this? Is this something that you're interested in? I think having those conversations up front also can be very, very helpful and help you guys both not waste your time. So that would be how I'd answer that. And again, if you guys want me to do a dedicated dating video, let me know in the comments below, because I have way more I could say, but I didn't want this video to be too long. So let me know. So the next question is how to handle marital conflict, or just conflict in general in relationships. And I feel like this is a very, very good question. And X and I have grown so much in this area during our first year of marriage, just in how we handle conflict. And yeah, shout out to our therapist, okay? So the first thing that we now do that has been super duper helpful for us is mirroring back what we hear each other saying. We found, because we come from such different communication backgrounds, so I am definitely more emotional, more soft. X is a Caribbean engineer, so he is definitely more blunt, and he is 100% more logical. And so we found we would have these conversations, it would escalate because I'm hearing his words, but I'm translating into something different, and vice versa. So what's been really helpful for us is when we say something, to mirror it back to each other. So I come to him and I say, hey, I just want to let you know, when you said you were going to take the trash out yesterday and you didn't, and this is just a hypothetical, but you didn't, it was a little disappointing to me. And then he'll mirror back and say, I hear you saying that when I didn't take the trash out yesterday, it was a little bit disappointing for you. And that is just a really good way to stay on the same page when you're having conflict, and to really hear each other for what you're saying and not translating it to something different in your head, because it's so incredibly easy to do that. And so that'll be my biggest piece of advice for you, mirroring back and really just inviting God also into that situation and asking God to help you understand your partner, because God ultimately knows them so much better than you ever could. And so really just asking for God's wisdom on how to deliver something to them, God's insight into how to communicate something to them, or even the timing of when you bring something up. Again, God just knows your partner better than you ever could. And so having that resource of the Lord to go to, I definitely encourage you to do that as well. So that would be the biggest piece of advice I would give you for that. All right, so we are going to do 2 more questions. The first one is, my friendships have suffered since I got married last year. How do you balance marriage, motherhood, and friendships? So girl, first of all, I feel you. I feel like it is really hard to balance, because going through different life events, your life just starts to look different, and that amount of time that you once had to pour into your friendships, there's just not as much time anymore. So for me, last year, going through getting married and then being pregnant and having a difficult pregnancy, and then COVID on top of that, I literally became a hermit. And now that I'm starting to finally come out of my shell, because the baby's here, she's 3 months, I can breathe again, and kind of looking around and being like, dang, okay, I gotta work on my friendships. It has definitely been humbling. And I feel like the biggest piece of advice, there'd be two things. So first, I'm gonna say, this is something that my best friend told me and tells me often when I start feeling really hard on myself, is to give yourself grace. When you're going through a lot of these life changes, it's really easy to feel like, okay, I should be able to navigate this perfectly. Why can't I balance everything perfectly? But really, you're going through something that is a lot. Okay, pause. My daughter's awake. Let's go get the girl, and then I'll finish this question. Okay, so we got the cute girl. Now let's see if we can actually finish these questions while she's down here with us. You okay? Okay, she wants to suck on her fingers. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Giving yourself grace. I think it is really important to give yourself grace when you enter into marriage, knowing that this is just a huge life event and you aren't gonna have as much free time as you used to be able to pour into those friendships. But that doesn't mean it's not important to pour into them. It's just giving yourself grace to know that what it looked like back then, it can't look like that now. Now, on the flip side of that, I think another thing to think about when it comes to relationships is knowing just how important they are. We are truly not meant to do life alone. Even Jesus had his inner circle. And I think maintaining that and keeping that thought at the forefront of your mind and knowing that to have an inner circle, you have to be very intentional with it. That is something that can kind of help guide you in your actions along this journey of trying to find balance between everything. I know that's something that I've been trying to implement, giving myself grace and being super intentional. So I'll let you know how it goes. I'm very much still figuring it out. And if there are any other more seasoned mothers and married women who can give us advice on how you balance everything, please let us know in the comments below. So the last question is, how do you decide financial responsibilities in marriage? Yeah, hello. So I think this is something that you and your spouse need to have really good and deep conversations about. I know this is something that X and I have had conversations about previous. Hi, it's okay, it's okay. Previous to getting married, as well as now that we are married, because dynamics do shift. And I think it's just important to be upfront and honest and kind of establish what you see for your marriage, what would be ideal for both of you, and how to work and compromise to get to that position. So yeah, I know for us, things have definitely changed over the years, but at the end of the day, we definitely love teamwork in this area, both being active participants when it comes to finances and budgeting and being aware of everything. I think that is super helpful as well. All right, guys, so that's gonna be it for me. I am gonna wrap up this video and go change this cute girl's diaper and feed her. But if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want me to do part 2 of this video and do another advice Q&A, let me know in the comments below and by giving this video a thumbs up as well. And again, if you are interested in the membership club coming, the creator for this membership, you can sign up through the link below to be the first to know when everything launches at the end of this month. All right, guys, I will see you in my next video. Peace.